Battle of Guadalcanal, fought between August 7th, 1942 and February 9th, 1943, marked a significant turning point in the Pacific theater of World War II. It was the first major offensive by Allied forces against the Empire of Japan, whose rapid expansion across the Pacific since the attack on Pearl Harbor had caused significant concern among the Allies. Guadalcanal, part of the Solomon Islands, became the focal point of this conflict, as its capture was crucial for securing supply lines and establishing a base for further Allied operations. Background. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, Japan sought to expand its territory in the Pacific, aiming to secure vital resources and establish a defensive perimeter against potential Allied counterattacks. In early 1942, Japanese forces occupied the Solomon Islands, including Guadalcanal. The islands were strategically important due to their proximity to supply routes between the United States and Australia, and their potential as bases for launching further offensives in the Pacific. As the situation unfolded, U.S. military leaders recognized the need to halt Japanese expansion. The Allies launched Operation Watchtower, the code name for the assault on Guadalcanal. The objective was to seize the airfield under construction at Henderson Field, which would provide air support for Allied operations and threaten Japanese supply lines. The landing. On August 7, 1942, U.S. Marine Corps forces, approximately 19,000 strong, landed on Guadalcanal and the nearby island of Tulagi. The landings were relatively unopposed, as the Japanese had not anticipated a full-scale assault. The Marines quickly captured Tulagi and began moving towards the unfinished airfield at Guadalcanal. The initial success gave the Allies confidence, but they soon faced challenges. Japanese forces, numbering about 2,000, quickly regrouped and mounted a counter-offensive. This marked the beginning of a brutal and protracted struggle for control of Guadalcanal, characterized by fierce combat, harsh conditions, and significant casualties on both sides. The fight for Henderson Field. Henderson Field became the focal point of the battle. The airfield allowed for air superiority, which was essential for the success of Allied operations. The Japanese launched multiple attempts to retake the airfield, leading to intense ground combat. The most notable of these was the Battle of Edson's Ridge, fought from September 11th to 14, 1942. In this battle, a small group of Marines, under the command of Colonel Merritt Edson, successfully defended their positions against a much larger Japanese force. Despite being outnumbered, the Marines' tenacity and effective use of defensive tactics resulted in a costly defeat for the Japanese, forcing them to retreat. Throughout September and October, both sides engaged in a series of battles that included skirmishes, ambushes, and large-scale engagements. The Japanese relied heavily on their naval and air forces, while the Marines engaged in difficult jungle warfare, often fighting in close quarters. Naval battles. The Battle of Guadalcanal also featured significant naval engagements, as both sides sought to control the waters surrounding the island. The U.S. Navy faced the Imperial Japanese Navy in several key encounters, including the Battle of Savo Island on August 9, 1942, and the Battle of Cape Esperance later in October. The Battle of Savo Island was a devastating defeat for the Allies, as they lost 4 cruisers and suffered significant casualties. This loss temporarily weakened the Allied naval presence in the area. However, the U.S. Navy adapted its tactics and managed to improve its effectiveness in subsequent engagements. In the Battle of Cape Esperance, fought on October 11 to 12, 1942, U.S. forces successfully repelled a Japanese naval attack. The victory allowed the Allies to maintain control of the supply lines necessary for the ongoing ground operations on Guadalcanal. The struggle. As the battle dragged on, both sides faced increasing challenges. The Japanese reinforced their troops on the island and launched a series of attacks to reclaim Henderson Field. One of the most significant was the Battle of November 13 to 15, 1942, which involved a series of land and naval battles. Despite fierce fighting, the Allies held their ground. The situation for the Japanese became increasingly dire as supply lines were disrupted, and their forces faced shortages of food, ammunition, and medical supplies. The harsh conditions of the tropical environment took a toll on both sides, leading to disease and malnutrition among troops. By December 1942, the tide of the battle began to shift decisively in favor of the Allies. With reinforcements arriving from the United States and better logistics established, the Marines launched a series of counterattacks. The Japanese were increasingly forced to adopt a defensive posture as their resources dwindled. Turning point and conclusion. By early 1943, it became clear that the Japanese could not sustain their positions on Guadalcanal. The Allies' determination and resilience had worn down Japanese forces. On February 9, 1943, after months of intense fighting, the last Japanese forces withdrew from Guadalcanal, marking a significant victory for the Allies. The Battle of Guadalcanal had far-reaching consequences. It represented the first major offensive victory for the Allies in the Pacific and shifted the momentum of the war in their favor. The successful defense of Henderson Field allowed the Allies to establish air superiority, which would be crucial in future operations against Japan. Additionally, the battle highlighted the importance of logistics and supply lines in modern warfare. The inability of the Japanese to maintain their forces on Guadalcanal due to logistical failures contributed significantly to their defeat. The lessons learned during this campaign informed future Allied operations, emphasizing the need for robust supply chains and coordination among ground, air, and naval forces. Legacy. The legacy of the Battle of Guadalcanal is multifaceted. It demonstrated the effectiveness of U.S. Marine Corps tactics and solidified their reputation as elite fighting forces. The battle also underscored the challenges of jungle warfare and the need for adaptability in strategy and tactics. In historical memory, the Battle of Guadalcanal stands as a testament to the sacrifices made by both Allied and Japanese forces. It serves as a reminder of the brutal nature of warfare and the human cost involved. For the United States, the victory at Guadalcanal marked the beginning of a series of successful offensives that would ultimately lead to Japan's defeat in 1945. In conclusion, the Battle of Guadalcanal was a critical turning point in the Pacific theater of World War. The victory not only halted Japanese expansion, but also laid the groundwork for future Allied offensives. It exemplified the strategic importance of the Pacific Islands and the need for sustained military efforts to achieve victory. As one of the first major battles in the Pacific, Guadalcanal holds a significant place in the history of World War II and remains a symbol of courage and resilience in the face of adversity.